Well, we are standing at the ruins of Lindores Abbey with a huge tradition, and I think history began here in terms of chess with Magnus Carlsen winning the first edition.
Yeah, and what an extraordinary day we've had, where in this last round, any of 3 players could still have won the tournament, but Magnus managed to do it. Oh boy, by the skin of his teeth. But what a setting we have here. We've got the Abbey ruins behind us. And 500 years ago, there are records at that time of the monks actually playing chess. No doubt to a very high standard, because also there are records of them actually making whiskey here as well, which I don't know if the combination is too good. But, well, anyway, a place with enormous history, and hopefully there'll be a tradition of playing chess here that's somehow started again.
Well, at the end, judging by the number of people who were watching the commentary or were just in the premises, I think it was worth every penny for the people who came in and also the organizers. I think it was fantastic.
It was, and I mean, I can't remember the last really big event in Scotland of an international tournament. I mean, certainly the elite players. And so this is something really special, and I think it was really appreciated by the crowd here. And as you said, the rooms were absolutely packed. And it's fun to play chess in that atmosphere, and it's fun to commentate in that atmosphere as well. So let's hope it happens again.
Well, the day began today with Carlsen and Ding Liren leading, and there were 2 draws in the 4th round. The real action began in the 5th round when actually Ding Liren lost to Anand. But very interesting was Carlsen's game against Karjakin, where Carlsen, let Karjakin make a queen.
This was extraordinary, because I think Magnus knew that he really had to try and go for it in this game. He reached the position where he'd played his rook to c5, and optically it's quite nice for white, but actually Sergei was holding strong, and objectively, in fact, really this position should just peter out to a draw after some exchanges. But Magnus played this move e4, which initiates extraordinary complications. So after Sergei's move a4, then this just blows the position open. Suddenly there is so much interaction between the pieces, and Magnus realized what he was doing at this point, that actually we asked him afterwards. We said, was this actually your intention? He said, well, yeah, I played a bit like Kramnik, which is a reference to the way Vladimir was playing in his final tournament in the Tata Steel.
Yeah, because Magnus actually saw that he could take on a4 and that would be a draw. But he thought, well, let's gamble.
Exactly. And he simply, of course, he didn't believe he had the advantage, but he simply thought this is a way of continuing the game, even though he was actually a bit short of time. So it was an incredibly brave decision to allow Sergei to make a queen and then to play on, and they reached this ludicrous position with the pawn on b7. And in fact, well, both players praised this move, bishop e5, from Karjakin. And after that, well, in fact, Magnus sort of dreamed of being better even. But no, he appreciated that really it's just a complicated position. But actually, all 3 results are possible from this position when the players are so short of time, because it's incredibly tactical. So it was a great game.
I was standing right like 5 meters away from the players, and I could see the clock ticking down to 10 seconds, and Karjakin was still trying to control all the lines, which is phenomenal. I think many players would just move their queen, but Karjakin was calculating, and I think this makes him the Minister of Defense, in a way.
Yes, of course it's kind of it's a slightly overused expression, but I think this wasn't just about defence this game for both players, because actually both players were trying to win this position. 3 results were possible. It was just a great fight. And as you said, they were both straining every sinew to get the most from the position, and Sergei went right down to the wire. I mean, I think at one moment he was down to 3 seconds. 3 seconds. One moment more hesitation and the game was gone. But both players, and actually Magnus's time ticked right down at one point as well. It was a brilliant game. And I tell you what, as soon as the game was over, there was a spontaneous round of applause from the spectators in where we were commentating.
Well, it's not the age of gold coins, so applause has to be enough. But the moment the game ended, Karjakin and Carlsen both went down together laughing, and it showed like they were friends even after this struggle.
Yeah.
And then I saw Magnus walking down this route with his father before the last round, just trying to relax.
Ah, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, Magnus is here with his father, as you said, and you know they're very close.
So basically I asked him what was he thinking, because I think he had to get into the zone for the last round.
No, it talked mainly about, I don't know, a little bit about the game before, that it had been a fun game and not much else, yeah.
And he just said that he spoke about the game, how interesting it was, and he came back. But Ding Liren was in a great fighting spirit in spite of losing to Anand in the 5th round.
I'm really impressed by Ding Liren and his play. So he's world number 3 at the moment, and I think deservedly so. I thought he was incredibly unlucky to lose to Vichy. Whether he was winning or not is another matter, but of course he should never lose this game. And then in this final round, well, he played, I think, a really enterprising opening against Magnus, finding a way to create problems for the world champion. And they reached this endgame where it seemed like a technical win, actually.
Yeah, there was this extra pawn for Ding. He had the extra B pawn. But when the game was going on there, and when Ding Liren took like 5 minutes to try to find a way to win, it seemed like Magnus's confidence was growing. And Ding was finding it difficult to find a win. Did you think that there was a win for White in any way?
Well, first of all, it should be said that Magnus thought that the position with Rook and Knight each, with the extra pawn, this was actually offered White greater winning chances. Once it got down to the Rook and Pawn endgame, Magnus felt that he actually was hanging in there. Yep. And of course, you can't prove it either way, whether it's a win or not. And actually, all the players, Sergei and Vichy and Magnus and Ding, were all analysing this endgame afterwards without coming to a really clear conclusion. But I think it was the moment when Ding could have played his rook over to d3. I think it was move 42 from memory. But he could have given up his f-pawn, so rook d3, then rook takes the pawn on f2. Now, because the pawn has been taken by the rook, that allows the king to cross over towards the pawn, so king e5. And then, well, they were analysing lots of variations from this point, but basically White's king would wander in via f6, sometimes take on g6, sometimes come to g5. Conclusion? Unclear. They still don't know whether actually it's definitively a win for White. But this was the chance.
Yeah. I was very amused when they were all analyzing really with a lot of energy.
Yep.
And at the end, Karjakin said, it's very complicated. And it just shows how rich chess is and how difficult it is. Even 4 super GMs, 4 world-class players couldn't really understand whether it was drawn or winning for White.
Absolutely. And actually, it was like you had 4 players and you had 5 different opinions.
Yeah, it was great. And I think Magnus, this defensive effort helped him win the 5th consecutive tournament he played. It's simply impossible to stop him.
Yeah, although it should be said, he struggled in this tournament. Yeah. This one was really by the skin of his teeth. So he's on an incredible roll, but isn't it interesting? It's like, they say in football, when teams manage to win, even though they're not playing at their best, and that's what we saw with Carlsen here today.
Yeah. So I mean, when he's not playing his best, he still wins this. Well, I'm waiting for Norway chess when he would be at his best, perhaps.
Yeah.
I think that would be the 6th win, which starts in a few days from now.
Yeah, well, Magnus hasn't always found it easy playing in front of his home crowd. And he has been on such a tour over the last couple of months, really. Not just playing in the tournaments, but actually playing exhibition games, simultaneous. Of course, there was the Ivory Coast. All this travel takes it out of you. And you also, these exhibitions as well.
Yeah.
It's tricky. And I think he realises he's been kind of pushing it quite far. Because, of course, after Norway Chess, there's also Zagreb, the Grand Chess Tour tournament. Let's see. Has he reached his peak for the moment? And is he going to experience that burnout? We'll find out.
We'll find out. But until then, what a great place to be at.
Yeah.
I think for you, it's like a very short journey back home from from Scotland to London. Yeah, you don't even have to take a flight. So
I take the train. Let the train take the strain, and it's very comfortable, and it's great being here. As you can tell, with my hair being blown over the place, there's a lot of weather in Scotland, but it's beautiful here. Yeah.
I would have liked that to happen, but you see, I am losing my hair.
Well, great. Anyway, Saga, it's been an absolute pleasure, and it was great to see you back here again.
Yeah, it was wonderful doing this with you, Danny. It was yesterday was the first time. Today we did it for the second time, and I hope in some future events we can do this again.
Definitely.
Thank you.